Welcome to Enterprise Radio, the signature show of the Enterprise Podcast Network, featuring some of the most prominent business professionals in the world today. And now your host, Eric Dye.
This is Eric Dye, and thanks for tuning in once again to Enterprise Radio here on EP. And if you're not already connected with us on our various social media outlets, we invite you to do so by following us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at ePodcast Network. Today we're speaking with Libby Heiken, the founder and president, as well as the CEO of GrantWatch.com. During her 30 years of teaching in her career, Libby Heiken raised millions of dollars in grant funds for her school district. In 2010, Libby decided it was time to spread her wings and do what she loved. That year, GrantWatch.com was founded, and she has gone on to help hundreds of thousands of people to find much-needed grants through her website. And Libby, thanks for joining us here today on Enterprise Radio.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, Libby, it is our pleasure to have you with us on the program, and looking forward to hearing all the details on what you have here. So for starters, what is GrantWatch.com and why did you start it? Take it further and get into some of the highlights there.
Okay. Well, GrantWatch is a proprietary search engine that lets the nonprofits, small businesses, and individuals know what grants are available. It's a subscription-based website. It's not is a cut and paste website. We don't just cut and paste the grants. They're reviewed, they're researched. We are constantly updating the site. Every day we add new grants. So, and right now, about 120,000 people visit GrantWatch online in a month. We service the entire United States, provinces, territories, Canada, Israel, and international. And we have grants of 59 different categories. Why did I start GrantWatch? I had retired from teaching at that time, and I was a grant writer. I had a plan of what I was going to do when I retired. I was going to paint. I was going to go back to my original interest when I started college years ago as a fine arts minor. And so I was painting, and I learned stained glass. I was doing all those things. But I really, really felt that something was missing. There was something missing in my life because I had spent my entire life contributing. I was a grant writer. I was a FEMA Project Liberty crisis counselor. I ran for city council, and while I didn't win the general, my agenda became the agenda of the next term. I was writing grants, raising tons of money for a school district in Brooklyn. I'm always doing something for the community. And here I was just relaxed, painting, la-di-da kind of thing, and writing grants on the side. And I knew the technology existed because years ago I had made a fax newsletter. My daughter Lonnie used to, when she'd come home from college, we worked together. She would review my grants, do the proofreading, help me gather the grants for the fax newsletter. And I needed to do something to refocus and recontribute. And my clients still, again, they wanted to know what grants are available. So we started out with NYC Grants Watch, my daughter Lonnie and I, and we searched for the grants. We did the research. We posted the grants. I worked with an IT guy that just came out of school at that time. So it was just the three of us basically doing this. And GrantWatch has evolved over the years. We just wanted to level the playing field for the nonprofits and small businesses and let everybody know, what's going on. And that's how it came about.
Quite impressive what you've been able to set up so far, and I'm sure it's a great help within the space. Now, what sets GrantWatch.com apart from the many other websites that offer the same information?
Well, I think that what sets us, I'd like to just, say to you, we've gotten awards from many different places. 2 years in a row, the top consumer reviews have said that we're the leading grant search engine. I'd like to think it's our pricing structure. But when I really dig deep down, I know that it's my team. And it's the people that are behind GrantWatch. We have a whole team looking into the funding sources, constantly researching, checking if a deadline has been extended or if an ongoing grant closes. We use a combination of technology and people. And my staff, we hire people that are like-minded to us, people that want to give back to their community. When I speak to my staff, and we do that quite often because they get phone calls that sometimes make them cry because of the situation that people are in. I found out that my staff, as well as my administration, we all give back about 10% of our income to the community. And so these are the type of people that are working, that are behind GrantWatch, and that makes all the difference.
And I bet it does. I'd say so for sure. Now, Libby, how specific are the categories on GrantWatch?
Well, we have a list of 59 different categories, and they do overlap. And if the grant overlaps, it'll be found in those categories as well. We try to use that as a starting point so that somebody knows that they're searching for a grant for teachers, they can go to the teacher category. That's pretty specific. If they're looking for a grant for artists, they can go to the arts and culture category. If they're working with seniors, they'll go to aging and seniors. But with the large influx of people searching due to the emergency situation right now with COVID, we added a COVID-19 coronavirus category. And then with the unrest across the United States, we've added a social justice category. So we keep adding to our categories based on what's going on in the world. During Hurricane Sandy, we added the disaster relief category, and we keep it going.
Yeah, another question on that as well. Where do the grants actually come from, and do they have to be paid back? I'm sure that would be a question the listener would have as well.
Well, grants come from funding sources. Sometimes the funding source is the federal government, state government, city, local. And other times it's a corporation or a foundation that's giving the grant. Now we're finding that industry-specific organizations or companies that produce products are giving grants because of COVID. Like we just came across a grant for hair salons, and that's coming from the shampoo maker Pantene. So grants come from a variety of sources. They can come from a philanthropist. And do the grants need to be paid back? So a grant is basically an award of money. It's a gift, but it has requirements. When you apply for a grant, the funding source is going to say what their mission is, why do they want to give out money, to what target audience, to what geographic location, to what industry, to a nonprofit, or just to a small business, or to an individual like an artist who has no audience anymore due to COVID. So these grants do not have to be paid back, but they have to fulfill the requirements of the grant. When you write a proposal, a grant proposal, you're saying how you're going to spend the money, and you have a budget, and you're saying exactly where that money is going to, where the money's being applied to. So as long as you fulfill your requirements and you spend the money accordingly and appropriately, you don't have to pay it back. That's what a grant is. And one thing I just want to squeeze in here, I recommend to anybody that's applying for a grant, when you're awarded a grant, open up a separate checkbook under that corporation, nonprofit, or small business, or even if it's a personal grant. Open up a separate checkbook, keep all the receipts, and show that you've spent every single penny according to what you said you were going to spend it on. That way you never have to give it back. There are forgivable loans like we see right now with the Paycheck Protection Program, where you're saying that you're going to spend the money in such and such a manner, and if you do and you meet all the requirements, that loan will turn into a grant. And then there is a loan, where you go to the bank and you borrow money and you have to pay it back in a certain amount of time. So those are pretty much the three.
Certainly informative and most helpful today. We're joined by Libby Hyken, the founder, president, and CEO of GrantWatch.com. She's joined us here today on Enterprise Radio, a part of EPN, the Enterprise Podcast Network. Now, Libby, how is a grant different from a government loan? Talk to us about the differences there.
Well, a grant is an award, and that's given to the nonprofit, small business, or individual. A loan needs to be paid back. The new loan that you can still apply for until August 8th, unless they continue it, is the Paycheck Protection Program, which is a forgivable loan. So if you meet all the requirements, if you do what you say you're going to do, because that's a loan that's was designed to be a direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on payroll. So if you do that and you file all the papers accordingly, it will be forgiven, which means you don't have to pay it back. But most loans do have to be paid back.
Yeah, definitely understand that. Now, what is the range of monetary grants on the website for small businesses and nonprofits?
Well, every day we get new grants. So it's really hard to say how much a grant could be for, and it could be an in-kind grant where there's no money changing hands, and you're going to get services from from a foundation or an organization. It could be $500. It could be $5 million. Everything depends on who's applying, what the funding source is willing to give. I mean, the federal government is not looking to give $500 to a municipality, right? They're looking to give, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars for something to take place. It really depends on what the grant is all about. But we say it on the website on every single grant that's listed on GrantWatch. You can see the dollar range. You can also, if you're applying for a grant that you found on GrantWatch, we give you the link to the funding source. You can go there and you can see who did they fund previously. And sometimes that's public knowledge. It's on the website. Other times it takes a little bit more research to dig down deep. But you want to see what kind of grants did they give out. Like they might say there's a range of $1,000 to $10,000, and then you go look on the website and you find out they mostly gave out $10,000 previously. So you're not going to ask for $1,000. That would be, counterproductive.
Also, does GrantWatch have a staff to help a company or individual who doesn't understand the logistics of applying for a grant?
Yes. So after I created GrantWatch.com, I was still a grant writer. I was running a grant writing business where I raised quite a bit of money. I actually wrote the first Child Health Plus grant for Staten Island, which was a $700,000 grant, and they've continued it every year since. I'm not sure if it's many years ago, but the last time I called, I got a figure of 46,000 children that received health care as a result of that. So I was a grant writer, and so while I was running GrantWatch, I was still writing grants for nonprofits. And it just got to be too much. It was really, you can be a grant writer, you can run a business. You can't really do both. And I realized that was the problem for grant writers as well. How much of their time did they need to spend looking for grant writing opportunities, and how much of their time, taking care of business, basically, or how much of their time should they be spending actually writing quality grants? So I created a website called GrantWriterTeam.com. And that website matches grant seekers with grant writers. So if you're a subscriber to GrantWatch, paid subscriber, and you're looking at a grant, there's a little button there that says, I need a grant writer. And if you click it, it will help you start the application process to look for a grant writer. It's a form. You pay $50. We advertise it to our grant writers. We put it through social media, and then the grant writers will actually bid on the job, and the grant seeker then can look at their writing samples and what type of grants they've written in the past and see if they want to hire, and they'll click I accept this bid. The grant writer will call them. They'll speak. If they don't like the grant writer at that point, they can come back to us and we can give them their second choice grant writer. And after that, the grant writers work with the grant seekers with a system of paid deliverables. So the grant writers have to complete the assignment, then they'll mark it completed. The grant seeker will pay, and they'll be able to download that piece. They're never stuck where they paid, a lot of money and the grant, and they never got the work. And the grant writer is not stuck in having to chase after the grant seeker because there's a whole process that they go through. So that's grant writer team.
Libby, this has been most helpful. Really appreciate all the information shared here today on behalf of GrantWatch. Lastly, what are some of the tips and tricks to applying for grants through GrantWatch.com?
Well, most importantly is become a subscriber, because then you can get beyond the paywall and you'll be able to see all the information on GrantWatch. And we keep the price very low because one of our goals when we started the website was to level the playing field for small nonprofits, large nonprofits, and businesses. So we have 4 price points, which it starts $18 for a week, $45 a month, $90 for 3 months, and $199 for a year. So you could never even pay for one employee to work for you for 1 week for the $199, and we add new grants every day. So when you get into GrantWatch, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you match with what you can do and what your background is for your nonprofit or small business matches with what the funding source is looking to fund. So you want to look at eligibility. That's your top thing on the top, top 10. That's your top one on the list. Check the eligibility before applying. And that's where you can't really fudge it. You can't say, well, you're looking for the funding source wants to give money to a preschool that's been in existence for 5 years. And if you're a startup preschool, you don't qualify. Not for that grant. For some other grant, you may. But if it says for 5 years, you're not in existence for 5 years, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Follow the directions. Let's say that it says that you should have a cover page to your application. If you leave out the cover page, you wasted your time. So that's the most important. First is check the eligibility, then make sure that you're following every single guideline that's there. I used to take a grant, even though it was online. I'd print it out. I'd go through it with my highlighter. I put it into a 3-ring binder so I could turn the pages, put little tags on everything. I'd get through everything, read it a few times before I even started. So these are important things for a nonprofit, small business, or individual that's looking for a grant on GrantWatch to do. We don't want you to waste your time or your money.
Libby, certainly a pleasure to have met you here, and we are thankful for what you've put in place here through GrantWatch. Again, listeners, it is GrantWatch.com for further information. Libby, all the best, and thanks for joining us here today on Enterprise Radio.
Thank you.
Again, we've been speaking with Libby Heiken, the founder, president, and CEO of GrantWatch.com. During her 30-year teaching career, Libby Heiken raised millions of dollars in grant funds for her school district and later launched GrantWatch. And for further information, simply visit, again, GrantWatch.com. And this is Eric Dye, and you've been listening to Enterprise Radio, a part of EPN, the Enterprise Podcast Network. Tune into our live location as we are streaming live 24/7 around the world at epodcastnetwork.com/live. You can also find our live stream on iTunes Radio and TuneIn Radio, as well as the TuneIn Radio app for your listening convenience. And as always, we thank you for your support and for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to Enterprise Radio. To subscribe to more of our programming, visit epodcastnetwork.com.
This is the ePodcast Network.